Fredson. You'll have to take yourself off of mute.
Oh, I was too fast. Here.
Thank you. Sterner at this time is absent. Vento?
Here.
Thank you. We know that Councilmember Wolf will not be attending. Zarin?
Present.
Lindstrom?
Here.
And did we by chance just have Councilmember Sterner join? Who just joined the call?
Susan, the name is Michael Rigney.
Ah, okay. Thank you very much. So roll call is now complete.
We have ourselves a quorum. And we have a great agenda today. So without objection, the agenda is approved. And we will move on to item number 3, approval of the minutes from our last meeting, September 22nd, 2020. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Vento moves approval.
Second.
Zarin seconds.
Thank you. Roll call.
Fredson?
Aye.
Vento?
Aye.
Zarin?
Aye.
Lindstrom?
Aye.
Thank you.
That takes us to our 4th item, two items on our consent agenda. The City of Watertown's comp plan and comprehensive sewer plan, and City of Lino Lakes comprehensive plan and comprehensive sewer plan. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Fredson moves.
Zarin
Approval.
seconds.
Thank you. Roll call.
Fredson?
Aye.
Vento?
Aye.
Zarin?
Aye.
Lindstrom?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that takes us to our non-consent agenda items, where we have 4 of them. First one is the a firewall upgrade. We have Mr. Knutson is going to be chatting with us about that. Looks like an important project.
Hello, Community Chair Lindstrom and community members. Thank you for allowing me to introduce the business item 2020-271. It's the ICS SCADA checkpoint firewall upgrade. And my name is Roger Knutson. I'm the process computer manager responsible for the industrial control systems at the wastewater treatment plants. Jason, if you go to the next slide, please. Industrial control systems, or the ICS, security importance came to light in 2008. In 2008, if you remember, the Republican National Convention occurred in St. Paul. Well prior to that convention, the St. Paul Police Executive Corps Commander brought in the Department of Homeland Security and the Secret Service for a Metro Plant Industrial Control System security review. In that review, they recommended that the business networks and the industrial control system network be separated. The actions that Metro took at that time, well before the convention, was that ES and IS physically separated the business and control networks at the Metro plants. ES also adopted the Department of Homeland Security Roadmap to Secure Control Systems in the Water Sector 10-year plan. That was a plan that was just published in March of 2008. And it was a combined effort of the Department of Homeland Security, several consultants, other wastewater water utilities, and other and consultants and contractors. That convention in 2008 set off a series of events that impacted even what we do today. Next slide, please, Jason. In 2012, a cybersecurity evaluation was complete. We use what's called the CSET, which is a cybersecurity evaluation tool that was developed by the Department of Homeland Security and the International Society of Automation. Primarily, this CSET is a tool that is done. It's a tabletop evaluation that follows the NIST 882 standards for control system security. It includes a review of such things as the size of the system, network connectivity and architecture, staffing levels and training, backup recovery strategies, patch management, asset tracking, documentation, and cyber attack emergency response plans. In 2012, after that evaluation, there was a recommendation to install firewalls to address potential access vulnerabilities at the wastewater treatment plants and the Interceptor system. In 2013, the firewall hardware was purchased and installed as approved by the Environment Committee Business Item 2013-41. Per the roadmap to secure control systems in the water sector, periodic evaluations were conducted, one in 2015, and for the same reasons the DHS and Secret Service had for the 2008 Republican National Convention cyber evaluation, another CSET was conducted in 2017 for the 2018 Super Bowl in Minneapolis. All the DHS cyber security evaluations confirm the importance of maintaining a properly managed and configured firewall on all networks. An interesting note to make is that normally after a CSET or a cyber evaluation, the DHS will do a 6-month follow-up review of how they went, how the evaluation went, and what sort of things we prioritized and what we want to work on next. So we had a 6-month DHS follow-up in mid-2018, which was 10 years after we adopted the roadmap to secure control systems in the water sector plan in 2008. An interesting thing was one of the DHS agents said that MCS was in the top 2 to 3 wastewater utilities in the United States for an ICS security posture. Next slide, please, Jason. So what is a firewall? A system of hardware and software that monitors and controls incoming and outgoing traffic based on predetermined security rules. A firewall establishes barriers between trusted networks and untrusted networks, such as the internet. This allows for an implementation of a defense-in-depth network security strategy. The picture there that you're looking at is the existing firewalls at the Metro plant. They're a firewall pair for redundancy and resiliency. They were installed in 2013, and they're the same vintage as all the firewalls at all the plants. They are at the end of the manufacturer's support or end of life in 2020. It must be replaced to maintain the required industrial control system security. Next slide, please, Jason. How is a firewall used? Well, firewalls are used to implement what's called the Purdue model, or subdividing networks into logical segments. It's a defense in-depth strategy. When you look at the diagram on the right, you'll see there's multiple layers. Those layers are all defined as different equipment and different importance in what's being protected. So at layer 0 is in the most critical equipment that we have, that we use to run and control and monitor the wastewater treatment plants and the Interceptor services SCADA system. And then you have layer 1 and layer 2. You notice that there's 3 boxes on the bottom. Each one of those boxes represents a plant. So if I were to draw this out in full scale, there would be 10 of those boxes at the bottom, one representing each plant. There's a layer 3 called a DMZ, or a demilitarized zone, and that is where we have very, very tightly controlled communications between the industrial control system and the business system. Then of course, the layer 4 and 5 is the business system. That's where you have web services, email, all your HR stuff, payroll stuff, things like that that are required to run the business, including internet access. So the firewalls that we are talking about today are the firewalls, the orange icons between layer 2 and 3. There is a firewall pair per plant, the way our architecture is laid out. Next slide, please, Jason. So in 2019, we started planning for the 2020 budget upgrade. In 2019, third quarter, we defined the technical specifications for an RFP. The procurement method then followed the procedure of July 20th. The request for proposal was advertised to the council and the West CDN website. A pre-proposal meeting was held on July 27th with 10 plan holders. August 19th, 2 plan holders submitted proposals that were evaluated by a 4-member panel using the following criteria: proposal quality, proposer's qualifications, and professional competence in the area directly related to the RFP, experience, and proposed price. Also, the Office of Equal Opportunity reviewed the project for subcontracting opportunities and did not establish an MCUB goal. Based on the evaluation, the panel selected Paragon Development Systems, Inc. as the lowest responsible bidder. Next slide, please, Jason. Committee Chair Lindstrom and council members, business item 2020-271 is asking the Environment Committee's continuing support needed to maintain the security of the wastewater treatment and Interceptor facilities' industrial control systems. This leads us to the proposed action that the Metropolitan Council authorizes the regional administrator to negotiate and execute contract 20P044 with Paragon Development Systems, Inc. to provide the council with equipment and services for the industrial control system and SCADA network checkpoint firewalls in the amount not to exceed a total of $750,876.48 for a period of 5 years.
Thank you very much.
Committee Chair and committee members, thank you for your attention. And are there any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Knudsen?
Councilmember Zarin has a question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I think it's really important that we keep our network secure. That's high priority. This word SCADA. Would you mind giving me what SCADA means? Because acronyms, they kind of get
Yeah. And I realize this is a technical presentation. I tried not to do that, but yeah, they creep in. So yeah, SCADA is a distributive control system in general. So what it means is supervisory control and data acquisition system. And it's slightly different the firewall does pretty much the same thing, but it's implemented in a somewhat different manner. So the Interceptor system is what you would call a SCADA system, and the systems in the wastewater treatment plants are what you call industrial control systems. From a firewall perspective, they're the same thing.
I always think of it as if something goes haywire at 3 in the morning at the East Bethel plant, the SCADA system would pick it up and send out an alarm or make sure people are aware that something is off kilter. At least that's one aspect of the SCADA system. I'm sure there's a million different components to it, but is that correct, Mr. Knudsen, or am I off base?
Yeah, Mr. Chair and committee members, that is correct. In fact, even though the systems are used somewhat differently, they are integrated. So that's exactly right. The East Bethel and all the other wastewater treatment plants have their on-site control system. But if there's an alarm, because that's a non-staffed 24/7 plant, if there's something that goes wrong, a pump quits that isn't supposed to quit or whatever, or get a high level, those sort of alarms will be sent out in a couple different ways. But one way would be to the regional maintenance facility where the operators there are contacted with the SCADA system, and then they may do a call out to somebody to go see what the problem is.
Great question. Other questions? Seeing none or hearing none.
Full member Zirin moves the item 2020-271.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Vento seconds.
Excellent. Roll call, please.
Yes, thank you. And Chair Lindstrom, I'd like to acknowledge that Councilmember Sterner has joined the call. So I will be able to include him in the voting at this time.
Wonderful.
Fredson,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Back, Bill.
Vento,
Aye.
Zarin,
Aye.
Lindstrom.
Aye.
Thank you.
Is approved. Thank you, Mr. Knudsen, and that takes us on to our next non-consent agenda item, which is a lift station, L73, in the city of Woodbury. We need to do some repairs. We have Mr. Wadeen. Welcome back to the committee.
Thank you, Chair Lindstrom. It's nice to be back and to present to you on business item 2020-272, which is for the Woodbury L73 tunnel repair project, contract number 20P069. Next slide, please. A little bit of background on the project itself. The project is located in the city of Woodbury. Primarily located within the right-of-way of County Highway 19, south of Bailey Road. It's the tunnel that leads to lift station L73, which serves a majority of the city of Woodbury. You can see just a general idea of where our project is located in the inset map on the lower right-hand corner. There's a road that arcs across the upper left-hand corner of the inset map. That is Highway 494, which is a little bit west of our project, quite a ways west of our project. Our next slide, please. The project itself is going to involve the repair of the existing 72-inch diameter tunnel that leads to lift station L73. Primarily, it would involve traffic management, making sure that people can get past our access points to this facility, to this location, dewatering around the pipe to allow us to repair, repairing interceptor or defects in the interceptor pipe. The two pictures that we've included here show some of the defects that we have in that existing 72-inch pipe. Repairs will also involve grouting outside of the pipe. During our study of that facility, we noted that there was quite a number of voids that were outside of the walls of that pipe. And then, of course, will involve site restoration once we have completed our project. Next slide, please. The construction project was bid. The project was bid in June through August of 2020, a little longer period. There were a few questions from contractors on the project. We're asking the Environmental Committee to authorize or approve the project bid award tonight, with the contractor notice to proceed occurring in December of 2020. Construction will start in February of 2021 with substantial completion in December of 2021. Restoration will be complete in June of 2022. Next slide, please. Our engineer's estimate for the project was $4,943,000. 4 bids were received for the project, ranging from about $3.1 million all the way up to about $6.3 million. It was nice to see that our engineer's estimate landed right in the middle of those that range of bids. Our disadvantaged business participation goals were 3% for the project. PCI Roads is our lowest responsible bidder, came in at a bid price of a little short of $3.1 million. Their Metropolitan Council underutilized business participation goals were met with a commitment of 4.3%. Our next slide, please. With that, we are asking that the Metropolitan Council authorize its regional administrator to award and execute a construction contract for Woodbury Lift Station L73 tunnel repair project, Met Council project number 806335, contract number 20P069, with PCI Roads LLC for the lowest responsive bid of $3,086,579.19. With that, I can answer any questions you may have.
Questions for Mr. Wadeen?
Councilmember Zirin moves item 2020-272.
Councilmember Sterner seconds that.
Thank you very much. We are regularly reminding our cities to deal with I&I, and we've got to deal with it ourselves, don't we? Very good. We have a motion and a second, and a roll call, please.
Fredson,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
Zarin,
Aye.
Lindstrom.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. Moving right along. 2020-273, public hearing requests. Next two items are public hearing requests for a lift station improvement, L32.
Thank you again, Chair Lindstrom and committee members. Again, my name is Tim Wadeen. I am Assistant Manager in Interceptor Engineering, here to present to you this evening on business item 2020-273, a public hearing request for lift station L32, the draft facility plan project in Fridley, MCES project number 809400. Next slide, please. The project is located in two locations. The existing lift station L32 is located in the city of Brooklyn Park, just a little bit north of the intersection of highways 252 and 694. The new location of lift station L32A will be across the Mississippi River in Fridley, Minnesota, right across the river from the existing lift station itself. It'll be built on property that council has already acquired in the city of Fridley. Next slide, please. Currently, lift station L32, which is located in Brooklyn Park, is about 50 years old. Components such as the structure, concrete structure, the piping, the controls, a lot of the components that make up the lift station are really starting to show signs of deterioration and require replacement. Failures at the lift station have resulted in backups of wastewater into neighboring homes. And we've also had odor complaints due to our inability to address airflow at the current facility. Finally, there's insufficient capacity at the facility. The facility itself is designed for 43 million gallon per day flow rate. We're seeing peaks that are getting close to 36 to 38 million gallons per day. So we're getting close to the design capacity of that facility. Next slide, please. The main driver for the new facility is the condition of the facility. As I mentioned, it is 50 years old and is really showing its age. The lift station itself handles most of the flow from the cities of Champlin, Anoka, and Brooklyn Park. And the existing property is insufficient for expanding the facility while maintaining flows from these communities. Back in 2014, MCES acquired property in Fredley across the river for the new facility. This was acquired as the Girl Scouts of River Valleys approached Metropolitan Council Environmental Services with an offer to sell the entire 22-acre property. L32, as I mentioned, requires a significant expansion to handle our projected flows for the area. We're looking at a new pumping station. We will need odor control facilities. And we'll also need some improvements to address reliability and resiliency for that new facility. Next slide, please. We've been conducting a lot of outreach as a part of this project. In September 2020, we conducted meetings with the cities of Brooklyn Park and the city of Fridley and met with their city staff. Last night, we met with the city of Fridley City Council, and not next Monday, but the following, Monday, October 26th, we'll be meeting with Brooklyn Park City Council as well. We have scheduled an open house, a virtual open house for November in 2020. And our virtual public hearing, which we are requesting approval for this evening, will be held on December 17th in 2020. Following that public hearing, we will review public comments that come in from open house, from the public hearing, and incorporate those into the draft facility plan. That facility plan will be presented to the Metropolitan Council in February of 2021, with the final approved facility plan being submitted to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency and the Public Facilities Authority to be included in the intended use plan in March of 2021. Really, the schedule is intended to meet the Pollution Control Agency's needs for approval of the project. Next slide, please. Our proposed action tonight is that the Metropolitan Council authorized a public hearing on December 17th, 2020 to gather input on the draft facility plan for lift station L32A in Fridley project, MCES project number 809400. With that, I'm available for any questions.
To Councilmember Zirin.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Lindstrom. I do think that the public needs to be heard on this issue. Building a lift station, if we don't build it, people get kind of upset when things start backing up. So it's a good idea that we hear from the public. I'm just wondering, it's a 22-acre site. Has it been evaluated for a potential site to put a solar array on site? Is there part of that? Is there green space near there? And can you describe for me kind of the idea, the plan of the site? Is all 22 acres going to be filled up with a pumping station and its amenities? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, council members. This is a topic that we've been discussing with the city of Fridley, especially quite a bit as far as what we're going to use that 22-acre site for. Our preliminary evaluation suggests that we'll only need about 7 acres of that site, leaving the other 14, 15 acres for other uses. Some of the challenges with the remainder of that site is that there are setback requirements for the bluffs in the area, for the homes that surround the area. There's also about a 3.5-acre wetland that's on this site. So it really limits what that 15 acres can be used for. We have been speaking with the city of Fridley, as I mentioned, as well as a number of other interested parties about what we can use that property for. In fact, part of what we met with the city of Fridley last night was to discuss potential for parkland, for park amenities. using it as a buffer area for our facilities. We've also discussed with them a number of other options for that location. Depending on what we do with it, we may sell it to the city of Fridley. We may retain it. I will say we have not discussed the use of a solar array out there. I think part of the reason we haven't looked at a solar array is it's fairly wooded area. We'd like to keep it, if we're going to keep it as a natural area, we'd like to keep it as a wooded area as much as we can. But that's something that we can certainly discuss. I know Assistant General Manager Janine Clancy is also on the meeting with us tonight. If she has anything to add to my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Tim. I think you did a very nice job outlining the options. And Councilmember Zarin, you can imagine this is a very important site to the city of Fridley. And so we are working with them and frankly have told them that the options for the residual parcel is really a separate conversation from the facility plan. So we'll advance the facility plan and continue to work through the design process. And then we can take a little bit more time to determine their uses for the remaining parcel as time goes on. Thank you.
I'm curious, what are the city of Fridley, what thoughts do they have or desires do they have for the parcel, the 15 acres?
Mr. Chair and council members, at one time, the city of Fridley had contemplated some housing on the site, some single family housing. But the reality is that the layout, as Mr. Woodine mentioned, with the wetland and the need to protect the wetland, and then the existing development nearby, make it a single entry development. So you could only get houses on one side of the street. Obviously, that increases the cost of the infrastructure and makes the project a little more challenging from a cost benefit perspective. The city, and Mr. Woodine mentioned this as well, the city is also interested in some access to the river, as are the Friends of the Mississippi River, because as many of you may know, or perhaps don't know, that Fridley does not appear to have any public access to the river right now. And while there's a significant grade change, it would be, it would be somewhat of a limited access. It would indeed be access to the river. So there's a number of conversations going on.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments?
Councilmember Zarin moves 2020-273.
Is there a second?
Fredson seconds.
Very good. Roll call, please.
Fredson,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Councilmember Sterner. Oh, thank you.
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
Zarin,
Aye.
Lindstrom.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
And thanks, Tim. And that takes us to our last item on the non-consent agenda, which is another public hearing request for projects in the Lake Minnetonka area. And we have Chris Remus.
Chris, we are unable to hear you at this time. Have you taken yourself off of mute?
How about now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
I'll start over. And thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Chris Remus. I'm an assistant manager in Interceptor Engineering. It's my pleasure this evening to introduce business item 2020-274, public hearing request for Lake Minnetonka Area Regional Interceptor Improvements, Draft Facility Plan Project, MCS Project 802891. Next slide, please. So since spring of 2020, our staff has been working on evaluations of our system within the Lake Minnetonka area. And based on those evaluations, the map below shows the locations of 5 projects that were identified through the course of that work. I'll go over each project in a little detail. The first 1 and 2 that you see on the upper part of the map are located in the city of Orono. Project 3, and kind of in the bottom portion, is in Deep Haven. Site 4 is primarily the city of Excelsior, and project number 5 is within the city of Shorewood. So the evaluation criteria that we looked at were a few things. We looked at hydraulic modeling for the entire sanitary sewer system upstream of the Blue Lake treatment plant. We looked at flow projections, condition assessment, age of infrastructure, and any cooperative opportunities that we were aware of with local government units, whether that's the city or county in the area. We also took the time to discuss with operations and maintenance to understand any known issues with the system to gather kind of all the information we could to make a decision. So with that, after the evaluation, we came up with 3 project types that were rehabilitation, replacement of infrastructure, and realignment. So under rehabilitation at site 2 and 3, with those lift stations, L46 and L48, and also at site 5 in Shorewood with the existing L21. And that may range from upgrades of electrical, HVAC, odor control, pump replacement, and they vary on what they will need, but that gives you a kind of flavor of what we're looking at. Replacement of infrastructure at site 4, we're looking at abandoning L20 and extending the gravity pipe further downstream to L19 in Excelsior. Building a new lift station at site 2, where L39, next slide 2, please. Thank you, Janine. And replacement of the Interceptor 6DH645, which is downstream of the L48 lift station. And the last one is realignment of Force Main 7113, which currently is along Shoreline Drive, which is directly adjacent to Lake Minnetonka. And we're finding the opportunity to relocate that out of that space and into the Dakota Rail Trail, which is a little west of the roadway, but operationally and access to it would be much better from a long-term operations and maintenance point of view, that if there were an emergency or a break or any longer-term maintenance replacement that affects lots of traffic going around the lake area. Next slide, please. So the next steps, we've also been involved in a little bit of outreach to date. You can see the first, we had actually some draft facility plan open houses virtually last week, both on Tuesday, October 6th and Thursday, October 8th, kind of broken out per that map. The south area with Deep Haven, Excelsior, Shorewood projects were the focus on October 6th, and the Orono projects were the focus on October 8th. So we held that meeting and
got public input and a fair amount of attendees for both of those meetings. The date we're looking for requesting this evening is the public hearing on December 15, and that will also be virtual. And after that is held and the comments gathered, we'll put together the final plan and bring that back to the council for consideration and adoption of the final facility plan. And towards the end of February, we'll look to submit that final facility plan to the MPCA for approval. Next slide. So our proposed action is that the Metropolitan Council authorize a public hearing on December 15, 2020 to gather input on the draft facility plan for the Lake Minnetonka Area Regional Interceptor Improvements Project, MCES project number 802891. Next slide. And I thank you for your time, and I will be available for any questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Remus. Had the pleasure of being a fly on the wall on the October 6th virtual meeting, and you're right, it was really well attended, and I thought all the presenters did a really great job explaining complicated projects in a very clear and transparent way.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and we appreciate you taking the time to out of your schedule and be a part of our presentation.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to being a part of the events in December as well. Is there a motion to approve or any questions, comments? Councilmember Zirin?
Yeah, I move item 2020-274, the public hearing request for Lake Minnetonka Area Regional Interceptor Improvements.
I'll second that. This is Councilmember Sterner.
Seconded by Sterner. Roll call, please.
Fredson.
Aye.
Sterner.
Aye.
Vento.
Aye.
Zarin.
Aye.
Lindstrom.
Aye.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And that takes us on to our information part of our agenda, where we're going to hear about next year's capital program. Ms. Clancy.
Mr. Chair, and members of the committee, thank you for taking the time this evening. My name is Janine Clancy. I'm the Assistant General Manager for Wastewater Planning and Capital Project Delivery. And the information item is to review the proposed 6-year capital program covering 2021 through 2026 and the 2021 capital budget. This program and budget will be incorporated into the Council's proposed unified 2021 budget that is scheduled to be adopted by the Council on December 9th of this year. Presenting the program today is Kyle Colvin, Manager of Wastewater Planning and Community Programs, Renee Heflin, Manager of Plant Engineering, and Adam Gordon, Manager of Interceptor Engineering. But I also like to acknowledge that this is really a team effort and requires support from many staff. I'd like to thank all the members of the Wastewater Planning and Capital Project Delivery team, in particular, Corey McCullough, who is our CIP Administrator, and Jennifer Lee, a Principal Administrative Specialist in Kyle's group. And I'd also like to thank the ES Finance team, led by Ned Smith, for his support and collaboration on this program. Next slide, please. So this afternoon, members of our team will provide an overview of the proposed 6-year capital program and its components. Kyle will provide a review of the importance of comprehensive planning and its connection to the development of the program. And Kyle will also share some key examples of initiatives that were identified in the comprehensive planning processes. So as you know, the the committee's been reviewing comprehensive plans, and all of those plans do impact our capital program. And then Renee Heflin will present a sample of projects planned for our wastewater treatment plants. And similarly, Adam Gordon will present a sample of projects planned for our Interceptor system. And today's presentation is truly a small sample of the program. We currently have 257 identified projects in our program. And these projects could be in any phase, in the planning phase, design, construction, or in commissioning. And we hope that the projects that we selected to present to you today will be informative and interesting. Next slide. And so if you can just go on to the next slide, Jason. MCES serves 110 customer communities and is committed to providing excellent customer service. We strive to make decisions that are fiscally responsible, protect human health and the environment, and we work with our customers to ensure that we plan for growth and that we coordinate all of our infrastructure projects, particularly those in the Interceptor system, so that our work can be conducted in a very efficient manner. The Water Resources Policy Plan, which includes the Wastewater System Plan, and our customer level of service are the foundation of the capital program for environmental services. Next slide. If you spent most of your time in local government like I have, the terms here may be new, but at the council, we have the Authorized Capital Program, which is the ACP, and that is the multi-year authorization from council to spend on projects where funding has been secured. And we have a Capital Improvement Program, or the CIP, which is the 6-year investment plan where funding sources have been identified. And I'd like to note that actually our planning goes well beyond 10 and even to 20 years. But what we're showing here today is the Capital Improvement Program. The council has not authorized all of the projects in this plan to proceed. And then we have the capital budget, which is the amount from the ACP, or the Authorized Capital Program, that council approves to spend in the upcoming year of 2021. Next slide, please. When we develop our capital program, our finance team and the wastewater planning and capital project delivery team work together to balance our identified needs with the impacts to our rates. We look at our history of spending, inflation, and the timing of our larger projects. Our goal typically is to spend between 80 and 85% of our planned program, which gives us some flexibility if the project priority changes due to the needs of one of our infrastructure partners. Perhaps they're advancing a project quicker than they thought they were, or maybe they've had to delay it a little bit. Or if on our side a project slips a bit in schedule due to design challenges or some other challenges that we might be seeing. As you can see, we are estimated to spend $112 million this year, which I am very pleased to see given the challenges that we have faced with COVID. It has put some strain on our staff, both on my team as well as on the procurement team, to get these large projects bid and underway. But we've continued to work very hard at it. In the next several years, you see that the cash flow estimates are between 185 million and 200 million, and that reflects the large projects in our portfolio. And these projects include the solids management expansion at the Metro plant, the Hastings wastewater treatment plant, the new L32 lift station that Tim just spoke about, as well as the Crow River plant and the Interceptor system to serve that facility. Next slide, please. ES finances or funds our program through one of the 3 resources shown on this slide. The first column on the left shows loans available from the Public Facilities Authority. And today you passed or you adopted or authorized 2 public hearings for programs that would be funded through the Public Facilities Authority. And that's why we're completing facility plans. In 2020, we received a $50 million loan, and we are on track to spend the proceeds of the loan. The PFA program benefits us by providing a lower interest rate. The amount of the PFA loan for 2021 will be dependent on whether or not a bonding bill is passed. We also finance through our general obligation bonds, which is the middle column. Of course, the council has a AAA bond rating, and this results in very favorable interest rates for us. Last year, we were at 1.65% interest. And in 2021, we estimate a bond sale of between 50 to 100 million, depending on the availability of a PFA loan. And then finally, over on the right, we set aside money in our operating budget called Pay As You Go, in which we dedicate funds from our operating program budget to pay for some capital expenses with current revenue. And for 2021, our pay-go budget is $11 million. Next slide, please. So to summarize the authorized capital program, our current authorized capital program is a little over $1 billion. We have adjustments to existing projects that came in under budget, adjusting that by reducing it by 6.8 million. We've added new projects, 26 new projects into the program for an addition of $222 million. And then the completed projects that have been moved out of the 6-year authorized capital program period reduces it by $183 million. So this means that our total 2021 authorized capital program request is $1.032 billion. And I just wanted to note that in your council packet, there was some detail on where those adjustments occurred. Next slide, please. The projects in our program are driven by the objectives of asset preservation, capacity needs, or improving the quality of our work. So that means responding to more stringent regulations, reusing treated wastewater effluent, increasing system reliability, or conserving or generating energy. In 2021, the breakdown by objective is 65% asset preservation, 21% expansion, and quality improvements is 14%. And then you see in the lower pie chart the breakout between interceptors and plants, and it's pretty evenly distributed. Next slide, please. So to complete our overview, in summary, the final proposed 2021 through 2026 capital program totals $1.4 billion, of which $1.032 billion is the authorized capital program and $448 million is the capital improvement program. The proposed 2021 capital budget is $185 million, all of which will be incorporated into the council's unified capital budget. And so I'll pause for just a minute while Kyle gets keyed up and ask if there's any questions for me before I move on, Mr. Chair.
I have a quick question. You reminded me about the Hastings plant relocation, and can you remind me on the timing on that?
Mr. Chair, Ms. Heflin will have that in her presentation.
Perfect. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kyle?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide, Jason. And next slide. Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. As the committee members are aware, local communities are required by state statute to submit comprehensive plan updates every 10 years. Minnesota Statute 473 authorizes the council to review these comprehensive updates and subsequent amendments to determine their compatibility with other adjoining community plans and for conformity with the Metropolitan system plans. Regarding a community's wastewater plan, the council checks the plan against the regional wastewater system plan to confirm that it conforms to the regional wastewater policies and that the timing and level of service that's reflected in the local plan can be accommodated by the regional wastewater system. If a local plan is found to be inconsistent in that it may negatively or physically impact the regional asset, or if the plan reflects a substantial departure with the regional plan, then the community must modify its plan. The council also has review and comment authority in the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency's permitting process that local communities are required to go through for the construction and alteration of sewers located within its boundaries. The council uses this process to include a review for consistency that the proposed sewer has with the local plan and the regional system plan. Next slide, Jason. Occasionally, a comprehensive plan update will reflect the need to either change the timing of service for a community, either the community as a whole or a portion of the community, or reflect the need to provide additional capacity for an area that is already served. This may require that the regional wastewater plan be revised to include areas of service either previously undefined in the service area or be revised to change the timing of that service. In some instances, the local community plan may identify the need for the council to make regional wastewater investments to provide the service reflected in the local plan. These capital investments are then programmed into the MCES capital program to coincide with the level and timing of the service that is requested in the local plan. I have 3 examples of projects that reflect a need for inclusion in the MCES capital program as a result of a local community's comprehensive wastewater plan. The first example is Credit River Township. The committee may recall that the Credit River Township plan was acted on by the council at its meeting on August 26, and that the town's plan reflected a request for the first time for regional service. The plan was found to be consistent with the long-term level of service reflected in the regional wastewater system plan, but that the area to be served in the town was not programmed to occur within the 2040 timeframe. Or in other words, the system plan reflected service to the northern part of the town post 2040. Therefore, the council's action that it took back in August on the town's plan included revising the wastewater system plan to put the northern portion of the town in the 2030 service plan. Approval of the town's plan triggered a need to include the acquisition of an 8.5-mile trunk sewer in Savage in the capital program. The Savage trunk sewer includes capacity to serve the town and will provide regional interceptor service to the town's northern border. Acquisition of the Savage trunk sewer is scheduled to be completed by 2030, which is consistent with the town's plan for a request for regional interceptor service. Until that time, an intercommunity agreement between Savage and the town will address the town's use of the Savage trunk sewer and the municipal wastewater charges that Savage will incur. Can everybody still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I had a security thing, endpoint security pop up here. All right, next slide, Jason. Okay, the next 2 examples is regarding the Lino Lakes plan, which ironically was part of the committee's consent item agenda at today's meeting. Lino Lakes comprehensive plan is scheduled after today's action is scheduled to be acted on by the council at its October 28th meeting. Western Lino Lakes is currently provided regional interceptor service through MCES Interceptor 8361 that also provides service to Southeast Blaine and Circle Pines. The Lino Lakes 2040 plan identifies growth in its western portion that reflects the need for additional regional wastewater interceptor capacity. Growth in this western area of the city was previously identified in a comprehensive plan amendment prior to their 2008 comprehensive plan update. And in response to the council's approval of that amendment, the MCES programmed an Interceptor project in its capital program. However, with the economic downturn in 2008, growth in this area stalled, and the city's 2008 plan update did not reflect the additional capacity need. The council postponed construction of the 2.7-mile interceptor that was originally scheduled to begin in the latter part of 2008, 2010. However, the city's recent 2040 plan has re-identified growth in this area, and the council will include this project again in the MCS capital program. Next slide, Jason. And my last example also pertains to the Lino Lakes plan. The city's plan also identifies growth in the northeast portion of the community. In 2008, in coordination with a Washington County project related to County Road 8, Interceptor 802325 was included with the Highway Realignment Project. This 27-inch interceptor was built anticipating that growth in northeastern Lino Lakes would occur. This area of the city was, and still is, included in the long-term wastewater service area of the Regional Wastewater System Plan. The city's 2040 plan now programs growth in this area that will utilize the interceptor that was constructed in 2008. However, a regional wastewater flow meter will need to be constructed to measure flow from this area of the city. Data from this meter will be used to allocate regional wastewater flows between Lino Lakes and Hugo that will be used to allocate municipal wastewater charges between the two communities. Those are just three examples of comprehensive plan elements that resulted in projects that were folded into or included in the MCS capital projects. There are a few others as well. I'll now turn it over to Renee Heflin to go over some treatment plant projects that are in the capital program. I can entertain any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Colvin?
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Heflin, welcome. Welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Kyle. Good afternoon, council members. My name is Renee Champlin. I'm manager of plan. To present some active wastewater treatment plant projects.
Renee, we're having some audio issues. You're kind of coming in and out a little bit.
I'll lean down towards the. Is this better, Mr. Chair?
That is better. Thank you.
Okay, so good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
And Renee, you may want to turn off your video as well.
Okay, that suits me fine. Thank you.
Yep, we'll see if that helps.
Test 1, 2, 3.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Susan, for the help. I'm here to present some active wastewater treatment plant projects and programs. I have 7 slides. Next slide, please. We have, at the Metro plant, we have been in a plant-wide facilities rehabilitation and asset renewal program since 2008. It will take several projects actually to complete renewal of the secondary treatment system at the Metro plant. The secondary treatment system removes organic compounds and phosphorus from the wastewater, and it consists of 16 aeration tanks and 24 final settling tanks that span 18 acres. That's equivalent to 13 football fields. The project shown here will replace 340,000 ceramic air diffusers within the aeration tanks with membrane diffusers. The project will include replacement of the PVC air distribution piping and the addition of 96 6 and 8 inch air control valves to enhance aeration control. The project will also rehabilitate the tank under drain piping and meter vaults. This project will improve efficiency and support facility permit compliance. The Metro plant performance is key to meeting the bubble permit, which imposes a total phosphorus load limit on some of the MCS wastewater treatment plants combined, all except Blue Lake, Sequoia Valley, Rogers, and East Bethel. The estimated energy savings for this project is $400,000 per year. This is currently the largest membrane diffuser purchase in the country. There are 5 acceptable diffuser manufacturers that are listed in the specifications: Sanitaire, SSI Aeration, EDI, Aquarius Technologies, and Evoqua. This project is currently out for bid, and the bid opening date is November 3rd. The estimated construction cost is $45 million. Next slide, please. Also, under the Metro Plant Rehabilitation and Renewal programs, we have had ongoing projects to renew electrical infrastructure at the Metro plant. And we have been implementing arc flash improvements along the way. Arc flash improvements like equipment labeling, adding remote isolation switches, and redesigning breaker settings provide a safer work environment for MCS operations and maintenance staff. The current capital program includes 3 near-term electrical renewal projects that have an estimated total construction cost of $52 million. Phase one is complete. It provided new and upgraded transformers for the compressor building, shown here in the top left corner, and new motor control centers in other areas of the plant. This project also installed Wi-Fi network to facilitate the use of wireless instrumentation. The plant has 3,000 horsepower compressors and 5,500 horsepower compressors installed between 1966 and 1980 that provide air for secondary treatment. Phase 2, which is currently under construction, is rehabilitating the compressor motors. The motors are sent out one at a time to electric machinery for an overhaul. Phase 3, bottom left-hand corner, will expand and rehabilitate the substation building, which houses the power feed from Excel and the power distribution equipment for the plant. The original substation was constructed in the 1970s. The project will include 3 upgraded switchgear lineups, 13 unit substations, and 17 new motor control centers located throughout the Metro plant. Next slide, please. We are planning to renovate the analytical laboratory building and construct a new services building adjacent to it. This will allow us to assemble work groups in close proximity to improve efficiency and effectiveness and to discontinue use of rental space and temporary trailers. The location of the new services building is based on an evaluation of alternatives at the Metro plant site, and it is the lowest cost alternative. In addition, the majority of staff that are being relocated interact most closely with the lab. The construction field office and R&D staff located in temporary trailers at the Metro plant and industrial waste staff which office in leased space at Metro 94 will be relocated to the services building and or the analytical laboratory expansion. We will construct this project 2021 through 2023 using design, build, delivery. The estimated construction cost is $30 million. And Mr. Chair and council members, I apologize, that's a typo on this slide. The estimated construction cost is $30 million for the services and in analytical laboratory buildings. Next slide, please. The Metro Solids Improvements Program provides additional incineration capacity needed to preserve wastewater treatment plant infrastructure and to serve regional population growth. 500,000 new residents are expected in the Metro plant service area by 2050. 3 existing fluid bed incinerators, which generally they run 24/7 to treat wastewater solids at the Metro plant. These existing incinerators need more extensive renewal work. A 4th incinerator will be constructed at Metro plant so that we can take each of the existing ones down one at a time for about a year. As shown here, we are currently constructing a renewal and improvements project, 2019 through 2021. We are rehabilitating the fluidizing air system, but the shutdowns are limited to 2 months each. After the addition of the 4th incinerator, we will be able to take each of the 3 existing ones down for about a year to construct existing renewal work like total refractory replacement and shell repair. The 4th incinerator will be constructed 2021 through 2024, and the estimated construction cost is $150 million. We will use the design build delivery approach. Engineering support services for design build delivery of this project, as well as the previous services and analytical lab buildings project, were contracted January of this year with Black & Veatch engineering consulting firm. Next slide, please. We have a solids improvements program at the Empire Wastewater Treatment Plant. The Empire plant is located in Empire Township near Farmington. Empire has digesters that treat wastewater solids to a biosolids product suitable for land application. The biosolids are stored on 2 4-acre asphalt pads, and they are applied to farm fields, either in the spring before sowing or in the fall after harvest. In 2004 and 2005, when the wastewater treatment capacity of this plant was expanded from 12 to 24 million gallons per day, expansion of solids treatment facilities was deferred. The current solids improvement program increases the existing solids treatment capacity by 30% and solid storage capacity on the pads by 140% by optimizing the use of existing infrastructure. The new solids treatment capacity will be equivalent to the amount of solids produced by 24 million gallons per day of treated wastewater, thus matching the 2004 and 2005 liquids facilities expansion. The program is being implemented in 2 phases. Phase 1 is currently under construction by Rice Lake Contractors. It includes a new biosolids cover for the north pad. This allows us to keep the solids dry and make higher stacks. Phase 1 also includes 3 new boilers for plant building and digester heat, and a new digester gas treatment building. Digester gas treatment facilities are being installed in Phase 1 in preparation for a new combined heat and power engine generator that will be installed in Phase 2. The estimated construction cost for Phase 1 improvements, which runs through the end of 2022, is $27 million. Phase 2 will increase digester capacity by 30% by modifying and reconfiguring the plant's existing digesters. Empire has 5 digesters. A new 1 megawatt engine generator will be installed in Phase 2 in the gas treatment building. The engine generator will convert digester gas to electricity, providing about 1/3 of the plant's total power demand. The engine will have heat recovery, which will provide about 1/3 of the plant's heat demand. The estimated construction cost of phase 2 is $25 million. And phase 2 construction is scheduled to start 2022 and run through the end of 2024. Next slide, please. These are very exciting times for environmental services because we are planning for 2 new wastewater treatment plants. The first one is the new Hastings wastewater treatment plant that will relocate service from downtown Hastings to council property about 2 miles southeast of the existing plant. The Hastings wastewater treatment plant serves 23,000 residents in Hastings. The new plant, which is included in the 2040 Water Resources Policy Plan, will provide capacity for long-term service to the townships of Marchand, Vermilion, and Nininger. The proposed capital program schedules construction 2023 through 2025 to balance cash flow needs and rate impacts with other major capital projects in the program. The last major expansion and renewal of the existing Hastings plant was completed in 1985. Based on a recent condition assessment, the existing plant will need a modest renewal to ensure reliable service through construction of the new facilities. Next slide, please. The second new plant, and my seventh slide, the second new plant that we are planning is the Crow River Wastewater Treatment Plant. We acquired the Rogers Wastewater Treatment Facility July of last year, and we're going to use existing capacity until the new Crow River Wastewater Treatment Plant can be built. The new plant will free up Interceptor capacity in the Metro plant service area. The Crow River service area, the service area of the new plant will include Rogers and portions of Dayton and Corcoran. The new facility will be designed to be expandable for future long-term service to northwest Hennepin County. We will have a small construction project next year to modify the Rogers facility. The project will provide separate restroom facilities and office space, a permanent backup power generator, security and other miscellaneous modifications needed for operation by MCS staff. We will advertise the construction contract for this project within the next couple of days. It might have gone out today. I didn't check the doing business with the council this evening, but in the next couple of days, the Rogers modifications project will advertise. After the new Crow River Wastewater Treatment Plant is brought online in 2030, we will divert wastewater flow to the new plant and then decommission the Rogers Wastewater Treatment Facility. Thank you, Mr. Chair and council members. I am turning it over to Adam Gordon, who is my counterpart, manager of Interceptor Engineering. If you have any questions, I can answer those at this time.
Any questions for Ms. Heflin at this point? You got a lot going on. Holy cow.
It's fun, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Renee, and thank you, Chair, Mr. Chair, and committee members. I'm going to present a handful of Interceptor programs and projects that are being included in the new capital plan. Next slide. So I'm going to begin with the Northwest Area Interceptor improvements. This program addresses needed projects to provide service in the portion of the Interceptor system that contributes to the Fridley Interceptor system, so just north of Minneapolis. as part of this program, a facility plan for the Crow River wastewater treatment plant that Renee was just discussing will incorporate planning for a new interceptor that will direct flow from the existing Rogers wastewater treatment facility to the new Crow River wastewater treatment plant. And there's also additional planning that will be conducted to prioritize projects that will reduce capacity constraints and address service area expansion in Rogers, Corcoran, and Dayton communities. And the ACP requests approximately 1.5 million to cover the planning and a portion of the design for these improvements. Planning started in 2020, and the construction improvements are planned to start in 2025, so sort of towards the end of our planning period. And we'll run through beyond 2025 all the way to 2030. Next slide, please. So the new lift station L32A, I'm not going to bore you by repeating everything that Tim Udine had just provided you in his presentation, his request for a public hearing and a business item. But you'll remember the project is required due to the age and capacity of the existing L32 lift station, and that a new lift station will be relocated on the east side of the Mississippi River at the former Girl Scout Camp Loxlea. And within the authorized capital plan, we're requesting the full $30 million to cover planning and design and construction costs for this project. Planning commenced in 2019, but the design will pick up in 2021, and construction will follow in the years of 2023 through 2026. Jason, next slide. So the Brooklyn Park Champlin Intercept Renewal Program is a large program that addresses poor condition pipe that is rated 4 and 5 within the Brooklyn Park and Champlin communities. The design and construction of these interceptors was broken down into 5 phases and is planned over a 5 to 10 year period. The phase 1 located in Brooklyn Park is currently under construction and is planned to be completed in 2021. And the design and construction of phase 2 will follow afterward. This program requests approximately $36 million, covering the planning, design, and construction costs for all the project phases of the program. For the second phase coming up, design will start in 2021, and these projects continue with construction all the way through 2026 for all the remaining phases. Jason, next slide. So the East Area Interceptor Program, or the East Area Interceptor Improvements Program, is relatively new, and we have 2 projects identified in the program. The first project, we have current development between I-94 and 10th Street east of Enwood Avenue in the southwest portion of Lake Elmo. That's nearing capacity, the capacity limits of the connection. And the city is planning on upgrading their local lift station. The Southwest Lake Elmo service area connection assesses existing city-owned sanitary sewers within Woodbury, Oakdale, and Lake Elmo, and potential new interceptors to increase the capacity. And the planning work is being coordinated with the Gold Line project, which is just adjacent to the I-94 corridor, as well as staff in Lake Elmo and in Woodbury. A second project identified is underway to increase the capacity of existing MCS lift station L77, which is also to accommodate new development, and is shown in the green square in the slide. This is part of a phased plan to provide additional pumping capacity. And there will be a future phase that will replace that lift station entirely on the same location, same site. The current ACP requests approximately $13.4 million to fund the 2 new projects through construction. And the planning and design activities for the program will continue through 2022. And we're likely to see the first construction improvements beginning in the fall of 2021. Jason, next slide. So yes, we have the St. Paul Interceptor System Rehabilitation. The program addresses interceptor condition issues throughout the city of St. Paul and contributing communities. And there's right now 12 active projects in this program. But tonight I wanted to tell you about 2 notable projects in this program, which include the Grass Lake Interceptor Rehabilitation along the Shoreview 1SV 436A interceptor, and the 1MS 100 rehabilitation feasibility study. So with the Shoreview project, rising lake levels in Grass Lake have left portions of the interceptor underwater and inaccessible. And the maintenance structures are actually sitting in the lake right now. The interceptor throughout Van Ness Snail Lake Regional Park has deteriorated maintenance structures that are inaccessible and inundated with water. So we're looking at a project to relocate this interceptor, at least a portion adjacent to Grass Lake, above the shoreline. And part of it will include a new trail access to provide, or a new trail to provide access for both MCS as well as park users. And there's additional work to rehabilitate maintenance structures throughout the regional park to ensure access for maintenance and to reduce the inflow and infiltration into the interceptor. The second project is a study, the 1MS 100 or joint interceptor, as we like to call it, is one of the most important interceptors in the entire system. The 13-foot diameter tunnel was constructed in the 1930s between Minneapolis and the Metro Wastewater Treatment Plant in St. Paul. And it carries an average of 150 million gallons per day of flow. The interceptor predominantly follows the I-94 corridor, as you can see in the bottom of the picture on the right. And provides service to the largest portion of the Metro Wastewater Treatment Plant service area. So the study is the first look at potential land required to rehabilitate portions of the joint interceptor, particularly considering that the reimagined I-94 planning efforts underway at MnDOT, making sure that we have access to rehabilitate that interceptor. And we anticipate that the rehabilitation activities may be required in 10 to 20 years. So the planning is going to be very helpful in making sure that, to make that possible. Next slide, Jason. So the Regional Maintenance Facility Expansion Project, we have an expansion plan at the Regional Maintenance Facility in Eagan to accommodate space for existing staff and visitors, as well as the air quality and construction field office staff. And with the closure of the Metro 94 lease, the air quality lab will be relocating to RMF in Eagan. Similarly, the office space for construction field office staff are being allocated between Metro Wastewater Treatment Plant and RMF to geographically distribute staff closer to their construction projects. Other improvements include upgrading the building HVAC systems, the addition of a secured computer room, and updated facilities for the dispatch department. And earlier this evening, Roger Knudsen was talking about the reviews or the assessments that we received from the Department of Homeland Security. And this is actually the secured computer room is part of that assessment from 2008. Also, a conference room that can be transitioned into emergency operations center is being added to the expanded portion of the building. And the emergency operations center will be available in the event of an emergency at any one of our wastewater treatment plants or within the Interceptor system. And that could include floods, fires, or regional power outages, and would facilitate communications between department members who are responsible for directing an emergency response. The ACP requests approximately $12 million to fully fund this project through construction. And the project is currently in design and construction and expected to start in the fall 2021 and be completed in 2023. So there's an error on this slide. The construction will go between 2021 and 2023. Jason, next slide. The L24 lift station in Force Main Sendy 20 serves St. Bonifacius and was built in 1971. We affectionately call it the St. Bonifacius lift station in Force Main. It also serves portions of Minneapolis. The existing system has a peak capacity of 1.1 NGD. We had controls and pumps and generators replaced in 2010, but the lift station was found to have deteriorated mechanical and structural issues with floor grading and stairs and some safety issues. So we're having another project to correct those things, as well as the force main, which is 3.3 miles long, is a 12-inch cast iron pipe that was built in the same time period, 1971, and it's near the end of its design life. So the improvements will be designed for an estimated 2040 peak flow of 2 NGD. And the station will be renovated with new pumps, controls, ventilation, odor control, and a full depth expansion along the side of the building to add better access, a staircase to the wet well. The ACP requests approximately $25 million to fully fund this project through construction. And construction is expected to start spring of 2021. We're nearly done with our design plans and expect to advertise that very soon. Next slide, Jason. So the Hopkins Force Main, or at least the portion shown here, the East Isles Force Main Replacement Project, is the final segment of 8 separate construction projects that were initiated in 2009 to reconstruct the Hopkins lift station and force main system at a total value of approximately $77 million. And this project addresses replacement of the nearly 50-year-old pipe, force main pipe between Bede-Makaska and the discharge to the 1MN330 gravity interceptor in the intersection of Humboldt Avenue South and 27th Street in the East Isles neighborhood. At that location, the existing drop structure is severely corroded and will be replaced as part of this project. In addition, there's a construction cooperation agreement that has been drafted with the city of Minneapolis to upsize portions of their storm sewer in the street in Humboldt Avenue South. And that will alleviate flooding and private property that occurs between 26th Street and the mall. This work is being coordinated and planned with planned improvements by Hennepin County to the planned improvements to Hennepin Avenue, and also planned improvements to the mall by the Minneapolis Parks and Recreation Board. And this ACP request is for $3.3 million, covering planning, design, and construction costs for this project. Our design was started in 2019. We're nearly done with plans and specifications, and we expect to advertise by end of year. And construction is expected to start in early 2021. Jason, next slide. We have a new program from which we added to the ACP last year for the Minneapolis Interceptor system improvements to address some capacity and condition issues within the Minneapolis system. And we have 2 active projects within that program that are actively proceeding. The first is the Interceptor 1MN320 improvements project, which you will remember we've had 2 emergency declarations heard before council due to the poor conditions of the tunnel. And that was the tunnel that was constructed in 1887 and is in pretty poor shape. And we anticipate a full replacement for much of this facility. And the project is will be involving, has been involving the city of Minneapolis to facilitate redevelopment plans within the Harrison neighborhood and coordination with MnDOT and the city on reconstructing the Interceptor crossing under Highway 55. So we have a lot of coordination issues. The second project is capacity assessment for the 1MN340 Interceptor in southeast Minneapolis. This Interceptor, you probably recognize it, is just downstream of our current construction project for the MCS Minnehaha Park Regional Sewer Improvements. 1MN340 was constructed in 1935 as a deep sandstone tunnel. And our study will assess the long-term capacity of this interceptor and determine if there are any potential routes for new interceptors to relieve 1MN340, either to meet future capacity needs or for allowing rehabilitation of the tunnel. And this ACP requests approximately $40 million, covering planning, design, and construction costs for projects in the program. We see planning that will begin in 2021, specifically for the 1MN320 project, and construction activities for a 1MN320 could begin as early as summer 2022 as we try to meet the development schedules that the city of Minneapolis has. And Jason, with the next slide, that brings us to the close, and I'll turn it back over to Janine for discussing the schedule.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you, Mr. Chair and council members, for being willing to listen to this very long presentation. I think this demonstrates that our work shows all types of activities, all types of construction. We have a lot of collaboration with many partners throughout the region, and indeed we impact almost all corners of the region. So the program is very important as we advance our work and work to meet our mission of protecting public health and the environment. So just wanted to quickly review the schedule. Of course, in August, there was a division level budget presentation that was presented by General Manager Lisa Thompson. Today is our information item on the capital program, and tomorrow the council will release the unified operating and capital budget for public comment, and then formal adoption of the unified operating and capital budget and levies is scheduled for its December 9th, for the council's December 9th meeting. And so with that, it concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was fascinating. Long, but very interesting. And I just have a couple super quick questions, I think. First one, on that 94 Interceptor project, did I hear correctly that Interceptor is something like 100 feet below ground or more? Is that right?
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is Adam. It ranges. It's the majority of it is approximately 80 feet below ground, but there's some areas that are close to 100 feet below ground. Yes.
Wow, that makes things challenging and expensive, I imagine. And just a quick second question. Then I see Councilmember Vento's got a question or comment as well. Last week we heard about how the MPCA is going to be coming out with some new permitting standards around PFAS, and I'm wondering if we know if those new standards could impact our capital improvement projects.
Councilmember, Mr. Chair and Council, at this point in time, we have not determined that, and our current plan does not include any work associated with that new standard. We, of course, are evaluating how that standard will impact us, and then figuring out the best strategy to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I figured it was a little early, but it sounds like it's possible that it may have some impacts. Councilmember Vento.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would be interested, you don't need to respond to this tonight, but at a future point, once we're beyond the budget process, I would be interested in a presentation about more detail about the amount of coordination it takes both internally, but also externally with cities and counties, Department of Transportation, etc. I just was really struck by that. This was a fabulous presentation, but it really hit home tonight how much work this takes to get everybody connected and working off the same song sheet. So thank you. And I have no timeline on that, just whenever it works agenda-wise.
Thank you, Councilmember Vento.
A great point. Other questions or comments? Councilmember Zier, and I suspect you would be supportive of those electrical improvements at the Metro plant. And your ears must have perked up when you heard about those safety improvements and more.
You start talking arc flash and arc flash hazards. Yeah, my ears tune right into that. You know, arc flash is a big deal when it comes to electricity, and being able to improve our ability to provide a safe working environment is really important for me as a council member and as an electrician by trade. So I really appreciate that part of it. Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and council members.
You bet. Any other questions or comments? We're going to have a lot of these things coming before us in the coming months and years, and so I know we've heard a lot about them a lot about many of these already. So never a dull moment, that's for certain. Thank you very much. And if there's no other questions or comments on this, then we can move on to our general manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and council members. Councilmember Vento made a really nice segue with her comments about what it must take to coordinate these projects with communities and all the residents oftentimes and the different stakeholders. We were just recognized last Friday for Utility of the Future honor, and you may have received information through council communication, but we were one of 65 utilities recognized, and this is our second time being recognized at the first year for this program, which is an honor by a collective group of water agencies. We were in the first year award for this, and now we were just re-awarded it this year. The thing that's important is that in order to even be considered for transformational work, energy savings, and if you think about the sustainability goals that the council has, we are doing things that reflect that on a leading amongst other utilities basis. And the thing that you have to get through the threshold is you also have to be a collaborative organization. So the culture is one of the first criteria that have to be met in order to be considered. So it emphasizes a collaborative workplace that embraces continual improvement and learning, has a high level of employee community and stakeholder engagement, and it has a focus on customer service, outstanding customer service, I should add, and effective environmental steward of the community's natural resources. So I'm happy to be able to share this news with you, but I'm also proud of the organization and that we're continuing to move in this direction because I've heard many of you speak of the need for our sustainability goals. That's what I have for tonight.
We're going to have to build it into our capital improvement program to get a larger trophy case.
Actually, Terry Drezen last week said, we've got to find space for all of our trophies outside the chambers. So
there you go. That's a good problem to have, isn't it? All right. If there is nothing else, that takes us to the end of our agenda. So thank you very much, everybody, and have a wonderful evening.